inside tight, outside weak. That's what I was told when I was going through lumbar spine disc herniation. Well, that's a pretty cool diagnosis, but what does that mean? And better yet, what is the solution that I could have for fixing my hips? We're talking about the hips here. And I often went to outsource my weak and tight hips to many different places. And I didn't really have an answer that was a long-term solution and the root cause for my back pain. And I'm going to show you that here. We are talking about the hips. Now, the hips are a mobile joint. They are designed for movement, opposed to the lumbar spine, which is designed to stabilize your center of your being. It's a stable joint, okay? So the hips can flex, extend, they can adduct medially, and they can abduct distally. They can also internally and externally rotate, okay? They're designed to move, and the more that they are tight, the more risk you are at for injury, or in my case, disaster, all right? So the hips, I don't want you to start with a Cossack squat seated. This was my way of reminding myself that I'm not so weak and tight anymore. And I hope that one day you can acquire these so that you can feel what supple and well-functioning hips look like. But we got to start somewhere. And where do we start? Well, I'm glad you asked. So a great way to start training a muscle or an area, a joint, that when you're experiencing pain or you are recovering from an injury is an isometric hold, which is basically an end range contraction of a muscle. And they're great for injury recovery, and the safest way to do that for the hips are in transitional positions. Transitional positions are just basically ones that we start in as infants. So an infant goes from lying supine, prone, to kneeling, half kneeling, crawling, which is a quadruped position on all fours, and then ultimately to standing, walking, running, jumping. These are positions that we want to, they're very safe to train in, and we want to always be able to have. We never want to stop being able to get up and down from the floor. So a great way to start this is the 90-90, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're going to get down on to our hips, and we're going to be sitting on our hips. The bottom hip is externally rotated at a 90-degree angle with the knee and the ankle. The rear leg is in a 90-degree angle, internally rotated at the hip, knee, and ankle. Thus, calling it a 90-90. Okay, and in this position, we're going to straddle the front leg, and all we want to do is that end range isometric, that end range facilitation. By driving our knee, shin down, and holding, and kind of trying to break the floor, I can feel quite a bit of recruitment in the hip, the external rotators of the hip underneath. Okay, and then pausing, going again. We can get a little bit dynamic if we can handle it and our back doesn't hurt by going forward, getting into the longer range and tension in the glutes till we can get no hands right down. And we can also do a little bit of feedback. If I grab a dumbbell here, I can elevate the knee and I can just press down on it, which is a bit of a feedback. And that's a great way to get a contraction in the external rotators. And another point of contact is the ankle. Okay, ultimately, we want to progress this position because it's very safe, and we can add a little bit of range of motion with time by getting into the pigeon, getting back toe down, dug into the ground, glute activated, spine up, shin down, so I'm loading the hips. There was times when my mother would tell you, I would come home from working 10 hours on the pipeline in construction, and after icing my back, which was ultimately just kind of something that I did without knowing, I would get into this position. This was my pain relief right here, the pigeon. And it was wonderful. Just going to show you real quick, you also work on the external rotation of the hip by pressing down in that isometric contraction for 5 seconds. You could use A yoga block here is a very nice tool, but pressing down into it. Third point of contact, fourth would be foot, pressing down. I can feel the groin turn on and get a little bit of movement, range of motion. And then again, you can add range of motion by doing the same thing. Okay, so the 90-90s are something that we can always progress, and we never stop progressing. Okay, and they're a good way to facilitate a little bit of tension while remaining safe, not hurting ourselves, which is a big one if we're experiencing back pain. Ultimately, to acquire range of motion, the best exercise by far are hip CARs, controlled articulated rotations, which are a part of my program, Spinal Freedom, and they're a part of a series of exercises which I call Fixed Movement Patterns First, FMPF. Basically, mobilizing a joint specifically through its range of motion is a great way to align the body. Okay, and body alignment is important if you're going to explore movement, whether it be going for a run or doing a back squat. It's good to have good alignment for those positions. So hip CARs, I'm going to show you what these look like. So we're isolating the movement to the hip. I'm not trying to sway or lean to add range of motion because that's cheating. And I want us to be specific so we can really use the muscle or the joint to its extension, to its range of motion without cheating, okay? So I'm using a chair and I'm standing straight up, but there's 3 versions of it, and I'll show you what they look like simultaneously with a standing. I prefer you to start laying to kneeling and then standing, those transitional positions that I spoke about before. Okay, we're strong on our standing foot. It remains straight. I'm using this for support. We go through the hip joint actions. So knee goes up, we flex the hip, it goes out, knee stays high, internally rotate, back down to extension, flexion, and reverse it. Slow, controlled being the operative word. Knee goes high, back down. Show you again. Knee goes up, out, extension, back to the start, reverse, extend, abduct, internally rotate, back. I'll show you from the side. Okay, standing tall, knee up, out, knee stays high, extend, back to starting position, reverse. Knee goes out and up. Alrighty, so these are going to be, they're very simple, but they're very challenging. So give yourself some patience, okay? If they are feeling a little bit challenging, take a break. I don't mind micro breaks, and then get back in it. These 2 will definitely help your hip mobility and your hip recruitment, okay, with the 90-90s, and we'll open up some tension and expose our hip to some good range of motion exercises that are safe and will ultimately help them function better and fix your back pain. Okay, these are a series and a part of my course, Spinal Freedom. I will drop the link in the comments below if you're interested in that and you're experiencing back pain. Please take a look. It is a course that is 28 days. I guide you through it. I send you an email every day, send you to workouts with descriptions. So if you or someone you know is experiencing back pain, please check the link in the comments. And if you like this video and you feel like you want more, please comment on it, ask for more. I will be reading the comments. I will get back to you. And if there's anything else you would like, please subscribe, share. And my name is Range, at the Full Range, and I'll see you on the next one.